If you ever put me in a situation where you're choosing between me and somebody else, I'm gonna make it very easy for you. Choose them. Because thing about me is that I don't compete with nobody.
If you say you have an option, that means you like that option. That means you are considering that option. So women be talking about we got options. Oh, a man is the easiest thing to get. But the man y'all be talking about, you don't even want the man. Y'all don't even want to take this man serious. These men are, you're not attracted to these men. You don't want them. You really just wasting their time because you're not even taking them serious. You're not considering being with them for real.
If you've ever felt invisible in modern dating, I need you to hear something. You're not imagining it, and it's not your fault. But here's what no one tells you. Every year you spend not understanding why is a year you lose to a system that was never going to explain itself. You'll keep doing the right things. You'll keep getting passed over, keep wondering what's wrong with you when the answer was never about you at all. There's a game running in the background in modern dating, and if you don't see it clearly, you'll stay invisible longer than you should. Today, I'm going to show you exactly what happened. Not to make you angry, not to blame anyone. Here's what changed, and it happened faster than most people realized. In 2012, the average person spent 90 minutes a day on social media. Today, that number hit over 2.5 hours. For younger adults, it is closer to 4. That's not just a time shift. That's a complete rewiring of how people experience being wanted. Think about what that means. Every day, billions of people are plugged into platforms engineered to deliver small hits of validation. A like here, a DM there, a stranger telling you you're beautiful. These platforms don't profit from satisfaction. They profit from craving. A study from the University of Buffalo found that heavy social media users report significant low relationship commitments, not because they found better partners, but because constant exposure to alternatives made them less satisfied with what they had. That's not a character flaw, that's a design feature. So if you've ever been with someone and felt like you were competing with 1,000 invisible objects, you weren't being paranoid. You were competing with an algorithm designed to make everyone feel like the next thing might be better. And that algorithm doesn't care if you're loyal. It doesn't care if you're consistent. It rewards novelty over stability, performance over presence. That's the game you've been playing. And it was rigged before you even started. Here's what it cost you while you didn't know. Years of wondering why effort didn't work. Relationships that ended and you still don't know why. The slow erosion of believing that what you offered actually matters. That's not insecurity. That's damage from playing a game no one told you the rules to.
And I just want to say thank you to everybody who participated in my dating era. But unfortunately, my dating era has come to an end. Thanks for nothing.
Let me tell you what I've seen happen to good men over the last decade. There's a type of man that was raised to believe that being dependable was enough. You worked hard, stayed faithful, and showed up consistently, he would be valued. For most of human history, that was true. Something shifted though. In an economy in endless attention, consistency became invisible. The man who texted good morning every day doesn't trigger the same dopamine spike as the man who disappears for 3 days, then suddenly shows up with intensity. Predictability, which used to mean safety, started to feel boring. And the tragedy is this: that steady man didn't change. The environment around him did. I was reading a comment on one of my videos that stayed with me. A man wrote, "I used to think something was wrong with me. I'd be consistent. I'd communicate. I'd try to build something real. And I kept getting passed over for guys who treated it like a game. Eventually, I realized I wasn't the problem. I was just playing by rules that didn't exist anymore." That hit me because he's not alone. But here's where I have to be honest with you. Some of these steady men stayed steady in places that was never going to reward them. They kept watering dead soil and called it loyalty. They confused being patient with being passive. And the system didn't just make them invisible. Sometimes it made themselves easier to look over. That's not blame. That's the part of the truth that hurts more because it's yours to own. Research from the Pew Research Center found 63% of men under 30 describe themselves as single. That's not a small number. That's a generational shift. And when you dig into why, it's not that these men don't want connection. It's that many of them have learned through painful experiences that the effort doesn't match the return. So they stopped performing. They stopped auditioning. They started protecting their peace instead of proving their worth. And honestly, I can't blame them. When a man realizes he's being evaluated not on who he is, but on how he compares to an infinite scroll of options, something breaks. Not his value, his willingness to keep proving it to people who won't see it anyway.
Just let them. If they want to choose something or someone over you, just let them. If they want to go weeks without talking to you, just let them. If they're okay with never seeing you again, just let them. If they're showing you who they really are and not what you perceive them to be, just let them. Let them lose you because you were never theirs.
Now, I want to be careful here because this isn't about blaming anyone. Women didn't create this system, neither did men. It was built by companies that profit from dissatisfaction, funded by venture capital, optimized by machine learning, and deployed to every phone on the planet before anyone understood what it would do to human connection. Both sides are losing. The same platform that made you feel invisible made her feel like she had infinite options. But here's what the options look like. A 2020 study on dating app behavior found that less than 1% of matches turn into actual relationships. Most messages go unanswered. Most conversations die within 3 exchanges. The illusion of abundance creates the experience of scarcity. Because when everyone looks like a possibility, no one ever becomes a priority. And here's the part that doesn't get said enough. A lot of women are just as tired of this, just as you are. They're swiping through the same void, looking for something real and finding the same emptiness. The system taught everyone to shop for people like products, and products can always be returned. So when you feel like no one values consistency anymore, understand that it's not because people stop wanting it. It's because the environment makes it nearly impossible to recognize. The signal gets lost in the noise, and the noise was designed to never stop. And if you're still watching this, if something in you recognizes this pattern, you might be wondering why doing the healthy thing still feels so isolating, why stepping back from chaos didn't come with relief, why protecting your peace sometimes feels like choosing to be alone. Here's why. Something has been happening quietly among men, and I think it's worth paying attention to. A lot of men have stopped chasing, not because they gave up on love, but because they realized chasing validation was costing them something more important, their peace. But let me be honest with you. Peace is not free. Choosing peace cost him dating momentum. It cost him being misunderstood by friends who think he's giving up. It cost him watching other men get chosen for performing the exact game he refused to play. It cost him nights wondering if he made the right call, and he chose it anyway. That's not passivity. That's the hardest kind of strength, the kind that no one applauds.
You look happy. Yeah, thanks. I stopped dating. You don't realize how stressful relationships are until you're out of one. Right? Suddenly, I'm sleeping through the night. My bank account doesn't look like it's being held hostage by brunch bills. My blood pressure went back to normal. My doctor thought I started a religion or something. Now it's just me, my peace, and the freedom to watch Sports Center. Yeah, I look happy. Of course I do. Because it turns out single life isn't lonely. It's just very quiet. And quiet is so underrated these days.
There's a quote I keep coming back to. A man who finds peace stops performing for attention. What that quote doesn't mention is what he walks through to get there. The loneliness that doesn't photograph well. The self-doubt that hits at 2 a.m. The moments where chaos at least felt like something. Peace is in the absence of one. It's wanting something real badly enough to stop accepting what isn't. Another comment that stayed with me. A man wrote, I stopped trying to prove I was worth choosing. Now I'm focused on building a life that's worth protecting. If someone wants to be part of that, they'll have to bring more than just beauty and expectations. That's not anger. That's a boundary forged into disappointment. And boundaries are healthy, but they're also lonely sometimes. The man who protects his peace isn't broken. He's evolved. But evolution doesn't mean he stopped feeling the cost. It means he decided the cost was worth paying. Peace became more attractive than potential. And once a man understands that, he stops tolerating chaos just to avoid being alone, even when alone is exactly what it feels like. So where does this leave you? If you're a man who's felt invisible, who's been passed over for someone louder, who's wondered if consistency even matters anymore, here's what I want you to know. It does. It just doesn't get rewarded by algorithms. Real connection still exists, but it doesn't happen in the attention economy. It happens in the margin, in conversations that don't have a comment section. The men I see building real relationships aren't the ones who figured out how to game the system. They're the ones who opted out of it. They meet people through shared interests, through communities, through actual proximity instead of infinite scrolls. They stopped asking, how do I stand out? And started asking, where do I actually belong? And here's the truth that will save you years of frustration. You don't need to be chosen by everyone. You need to be seen by one person who values what you actually offer.
Everybody thinks they have so many options now. Because our phones keep us surrounded by faces, followers, and flattery, we confuse attention with availability. But just because somebody likes your picture doesn't mean that they could love your soul. And just because they reply to your story doesn't mean that they're ready for your story. You call them options, but most of them are just distractions. Imagine this. You're standing in a store surrounded by beautiful clothes. Everywhere you look, you want everything you see. You would wear all of it. It's amazing. But guess what? Only one of those items actually fits you. The rest only look good on the hanger. Not every hay has a future in it because real options require connection, character, and commitment. And those aren't in your DMs. Those are built through discipline.
The illusion of options made people forget that love isn't about having the most choices. It's about making one choice and honoring it. But here's the part I need you to sit with. You were never the problem. The system that made you feel invisible was. And the fact that you chose peace over chaos, standard over desperation, self-respect over approval, that's not something to be ashamed of. That's something to be proud of. The pride isn't the finish line. Understanding why you've been invisible doesn't make you visible. Clarity without movement just turns into another place to hide. At some point, you have to decide whether peace is a season or a permanent address. Whether you step back to heal or whether you stayed back because it felt safer than risking disappointment again. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. You can understand the system perfectly and still waste years waiting in the wrong places. The men who actually change their outcomes don't go back to competing for attention. They change environments. They change proximity. They change who gets access to them. And they stop confusing patience with progress. The right person won't need you to perform, but they also can't choose you if you're standing in rooms where substance doesn't register. You already know you weren't the problem. Now comes the harder part. Choosing where to show up, choosing who to stop auditioning for, and choosing whether peace is protecting your future or quietly postponing it. It's been your girl Remy Renee here. I'll see you guys in my next video.